That's it. In Europe, the R1 as a road bike is no more, which is absolutely gutting. And short of moving to America so that I can buy one for the road, the only way to get around it is to buy the track version, which is the R1 Race or the R1 GYTR. With the R1 coming to the end of its tenure as a road bike in Europe, we thought it was the perfect opportunity to get this one out on track and give it one last proper thrashing.
The R1, which is still such a phenomenally nice track bike to ride. And I know nice is normally a word used to describe things that are boring, that there's nothing else to say about, but of all the Japanese four-cylinder bikes, the R1 has by far the most soul. And the chassis on it doesn't use loads of clever electronics, doesn't use tons of clever stuff to make it work. It just feels like a nice chassis. And it's no surprise, the MotoGP bikes are always renowned for having a really, really good front end and really well steering, which isn't helping them at the moment in MotoGP, but my God, does it help them make a really good superbike. I've been riding today some of the absolute most premium superbikes you can get, and it's so interesting that this R1 still holds its head high in that company, in such illustrious company. Not because it's got the most power, not because it's got the most sophisticated electronics, but because it just works so well. It steers well. The traction control and slide control systems that it's got look after you and let you push to the limits of the tyre in a bit of comfort and confidence, and it talks to you. You can feel what's going on with this bike. It doesn't feel like there's loads of electronics between you and what's going on at the back tyre. There's nothing wrong with that. It's awesome in some of the latest top spec superbikes, but something about riding this that just feels raw and enjoyable. For sure, this particular R1 is, while it's dressed up like an R1M, it's actually not an R1M underneath, it's just a regular R1. Which is good up to a point, but when you get to a slightly more aggressive pace, the ABS does step in and get in the way. It doesn't actually let you brake as hard as you'd want, because once the rear starts moving around, it kicks you off the front brake, which is a bit annoying. And again, this R1 has done a lot of hard track work, so it does feel like the brakes would benefit from a bleed, because late on in a session they start getting a bit squishy. But it is so addictive to ride.
So while we've been bombing around on the R1 here today, we've seen a few others in the paddock, particularly this beautiful GYTR sticker one. Matt, thanks for stopping your fun time to have a chat with us. So we were just chatting, you've got a bit of an R1 habit, haven't you? Like, you've had everyone since 2001, you've had most of the generations?
Pretty much. I just I do go away to different bikes, and then I always come back to the R1, and just an amazing bike. Love it, absolutely love it. I don't think I'd have anything different now.
Really? And what, if you can put your finger on, because you said you obviously jumped off an M1000RR onto this, and were immediately happier on this one. Could you put your finger on what it is? Is it just the way it feels, the way it rides, or just like the whole package together?
I just feel comfortable on it. The thing with the M1000 that I had that I didn't really like was, I think it had like 3 throttles on it, which I could never figure out. The overrun, the driver input one, and then the when you shut it, it decides to give you more throttle.
Yeah.
With this one, it just feels like your hand is connected to the back wheel.
Yeah.
I just feel safer, more confident on this.
And that's, ultimately that's what's going to make you faster on track if you're happy.
Puts a smile on my face. It literally puts a smile on my face, and I keep going away from R1s. And I keep coming back to them.
And what have you done to this one? Because you said, like we said, it's got the GYTR kit from Raceways on it. It's got a few other little bits.
Yeah, no, I originally got the bike from Raceways Yamaha.
Yeah.
Steve there was nice enough to sort me out with this particular bike. This comes as standard with the GYTR Lumen ECU. The rear sets, there's a package that he does. I think it's about £25,000, something like that, which gives you all the plastics nicely painted. As you can see, it's all really, really good work.
Very
they're
smart,
doing.
yeah.
They build it as a race bike, and then since then I took it to Phil Seaton. Phil Seaton put his bell mouth kit in there. We've changed the filter, and he's done a custom map because he can't flash the ECU on the GYTR one at the moment. But he put a custom map in there for me. And I've got to say, for just setting it up on the dyno, brilliant job. Brilliant job.
Oh, Matt, well, thanks ever so much for sticking to us, dude.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful bit of kit, and yeah, long live the R1, eh?
Oh, let's hope, let's hope.
Oh, we spotted this one in the paddock. We had to come and speak to it. Ben, did you do the thing where you justify having carbon fibre because it's cheaper than paint?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
It
and
looks stunning.
I was going to get just race paint on a normal race fairing, but sort of saw that my friend's got the similar, and I just had to have it, and I justified it by saying it was cheaper, but absolute rubbish.
It's rubbish.
It cost a lot more than all of it, but yeah, I kind of absolutely love it, and it keeps me a bit honest, not desperately trying not to do anything silly on it,
Hey,
Yeah.
well, thanks for talking to us. Enjoy
You're
the rest of
welcome.
your track
You're
day here.
welcome, Chris. Yeah, love it.
Long live the R1.
Oh, this thing is glorious. The sound, the steering, the way it's like you could slide the rear tyre almost at will against the traction control with that beautiful engine. That throttle connection on this bike, which is something Yamaha talked a lot when they made the cross-plane crank motor, but holy cow, does it work. This R1 is an incredible bike. We sorely missed from the road range in the UK, but what a track bike. What a beautiful engine. What a beautiful thing to ride.
Now the Supersport class, the 1000cc Supersport class, is absolutely bonkers at the moment. The 600cc class might have died off in competitiveness, but in terms of making the ultimate outright superbike, manufacturers are fighting like crazy. The latest offerings from BMW, Ducati, Aprilia are just technological masterpieces. The tech that's coming in, the electronics that's coming in, the horsepower levels that are coming out of them, it's mind-blowing. It's stuff we would never have dreamed of 10 years ago. This current R1 isn't on the top tier of the best electronics. It isn't on the top tier of the most fancy gadgets and gizmos, but genuinely it works in a different way. As soon as I went out on track today, it felt different. It felt like it had a much more direct connection between the throttle and the rear tyre, which has always been the strong point since they put that cross-plane crank engine in. And while it may not have all those top headline fancy gizmos that the BM and the Ducati are pulling out year on year, what it does have is a very, very effective rider aids package. The traction control system, the ABS, the quick shifter, the engine braking management all work really, really well to let you get the best out of a 1000cc bike on track, but never making it feel too much like they're standing between you and the back tyre. And once you back those levels right down, you really do feel like you can push the tyre to its limit with a good safety net. But what you've asked for, you get. And that's what I probably love the most about the R1. Out of all the 1000cc inline fours, Yamaha's the only one who make a cross-plane crank for their road-going superbike. And I find it baffling that nobody else has jumped on that bandwagon, because it feels nicer, it sounds nicer, and it gives a much, a better response when you're trying to feel for grip out of a corner. It feels to me like the other manufacturers are using electronics to achieve what Yamaha's done mechanically by switching to that cross-plane crank engine. We thought we'd have a chat while we were here as well with a few other owners of R1s, because when you come to a European track day, they're super popular. It might not be the most powerful superbike you can buy, but if you look in these garages, every couple of garages along there's another R1, another GYTR kitted R1, another R1 dripping in carbon bodywork. They're a really popular track bike. It's interesting speaking to all those people that got R1s, because they've all ridden lots of different track bikes. They've all ridden super duper fancy BMWs, the Panigales, the Aprilias, and they're all coming back to R1s because they like the feel of them. They like the way the throttle rides, and they like the fact that they can push it harder and feel confident, which I think is seriously impressive when you look at the level of equipment that is competing against this bike. I'm absolutely spoiled in my job. I get to ride superbikes all the time. I get to ride the latest offerings from all the manufacturers, and I get to spend a lot of time on track on them. I love that. And jumping on this R1, it's one of those bikes where I've ridden it, I've sort of ticked that off and moved on, and I'm riding the next best thing all the time. But jumping back to it this week has been a real eye-opener. There's something about it. There's something in the way it sounds, something in the way it feels, something in the way it steers that I just feel at home on. I hit more apexes more accurately on this bike than anything else I rode here. When the tyres were absolutely frazzled and bald, and I probably would have been pulling in on other bikes, on this I just dialed the traction control up a bit and had fun sliding it around and playing with it out of the corners. I never actually wanted to stop riding at the end of the day, and that speaks volumes to me. It's sort of got right under my skin, this bike, and I can't quite put my finger on why. I love the noise, I love the styling, and I love the way it feels when you ride on track, and I don't think a lap time or a number can accurately represent that. R1 is flipping awesome, and I shall sadly miss it from the road lineup in Europe. But thankfully, we've got the GYTR race version instead. Now, I wonder if I can squeeze one of them out of Yamaha.